Is it just me, or does having that blur in the background of your videos make your videos look a lot more professional? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can achieve that beautiful blurred background with just your smartphone. And so no fancy cameras, no fancy gadgets. By the way, if it's your first time here, my name is Henrietta and I'm a content creator. I create content, I edit videos, I take photographs, I do all of that good stuff, okay? So if you're not subscribed, please do well to subscribe to my channel if you want to connect with me. And yeah, let's just get right into the video. So first things first, and this is something I always emphasize, right? Do not push record without cleaning your camera lens. It doesn't matter what type of phone you're using to record. It doesn't even matter whether you're recording with your back camera or the front camera. What's most important is do not start recording your videos or even taking your pictures. Do not take your pictures without cleaning your camera lens. And the reason for this is very, very simple. For the most part, we are handling our phones, and that's what we're using to create content. That's what we're using to take our pictures, right? You touch food, you touch grease, you touch lotions, you just touch a lot of things, right? And you grab your phone. If you do not clean your camera lens, that you find that you have that extra film on the surface of your camera, it just doesn't allow your footage to be crisp. So make sure that before you even record, before you press record, you clean your camera lens. So now that we're done with that tip, let's just move right on to the settings of our phone and the little things that you could do to achieve that blurriness in the background. Bear in mind that this thing is actually really, really simple. We hear all of these words and they're talking about aperture, f-stop, bouquet, and you're like, where is all of these things? The first thing you need to do is to focus on the subject that you're recording. So in this case, I am the subject of this video, and so I'm going to lock the aperture on myself just so that I am focused on me as a subject. Even if you were recording an item, an example would be a lotion or makeup, right? What you want to ensure is that you are locking the aperture. You could do this with most smartphones. It's just to click on the subject and then ensure that there's a lot of space behind it. That way, that product or that item is in focus and you get that blurred background. So if you use the iPhone, what you want to do is to actually use the portrait mode. That's for taking pictures, and then the cinematic mode for making videos. Even if you do not have that cinematic setting, the second thing that you could do is to go into the camera settings and see if the camera settings has an aperture setting. That is what we typically call the f-stop. So it would usually be represented with an F sign or an F symbol. If you click on it, the dial pops up. If you're trying to get the most blur you could get, then I advise or recommend that you take it to the extreme end, to the lower end, okay? Follow the promptings if the phone has that prompting to tell you, okay, move 8 feet backwards, move forward, do this, do that. Most times you get those recommendations. Looking at the image or the footage, you can immediately tell if that function is enabled and your background is blurry. The third thing, of course, will be to ensure that your space is amply lit up, right? And not just that, you are using the right type of lighting. So at the moment, the only source of light that I'm using to record this video is my softbox that I have showed you guys in my previous videos. Outside of that, I have no other source of light focused on me as a subject. The only other lighting source I have in my space at the moment is my lamp at the back, and its purpose is actually not to light up the video. It's actually just I would say a prop. If you're going to be taking advantage of that beautiful bouquet or blurriness in the background, then you want to have things behind you that are visible that the camera or your phone can actually work with to emphasize that blurriness. But I'll come to this before we tidy up this video. Outside of that, you also want to make sure that the lighting is not right in your face. And that was one mistake that I used to make, even with recording with my camera. I would place the lighting just behind my recording device, and I would find that when I'm editing the content, there's just so much light on my face that if I try to take it down, then I find that I'm actually taking down all of the exposure and it makes my content look a little awkward. And then I'm trying to see how I can balance my complexion with the lighting. All of these things you can actually combat or reduce by just making sure that your light is placed at such an angle that just throws enough light on you as a subject. My next tip, of course, and this one is actually really, really important, is the placement of your device or your phone. If you're filming in a tiny space, what you want to ensure is that come rain, come shine, okay, you have at least 8 feet between you and your background, or at least between your camera or your phone and the background. That way, the camera actually has something to work with. It makes no sense that you're trying to get blur in the background and you're literally sitting right in front of your walls or your background. If you're able to get that 8 feet at the very least, then you will be able to take advantage of that blurriness or bokeh that your camera already has working for you without having to do too much. And then finally, this one is extremely important, okay? To get that blur, you need something for the camera to work with. If your background is a plain white wall, for example, you will not be able to tell that this footage I'm looking at or this video that I'm watching, there is blur in the background just because there is no contrast. For you to be able to get that beautiful blur and for it to be obvious, the camera or the phone has to have something to work with. And that was why I mentioned the light in the first place. If I were to turn off that light, you will see the blur, but with the light, the blur is more emphasized. It draws your eyes to it, right? Without necessarily taking away from me. Okay. Outside of that, I still have a little bit of white and turquoise and pink, a few things going on in the background. Why I'm emphasizing this is you want to have something for the camera to pick up on, or for the bokeh settings in the camera to pick up on when you are trying to take advantage of that cinematic setting. It is not me doing the work at the moment, right? It's not you doing the work. It's the camera, it's the phone that is doing the work. So the phone actually has to have something to work with. Color, lights, frames, curtains or whatever, something that is different from you as the subject, then you see that the camera can better, or the phone can better pick up on all of that and create that beautiful blur that you're looking for. So just to kind of wrap up this video, I'm just going to go through all of the tips that we discussed in the video. The first thing is you want to make sure that you always clean your camera lens. That way you are getting a crisp video, you're getting crisp footage. The second thing that you want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure that you are focused, or the object is the focus of your recording. And the ways to do this, I mentioned number one, make sure that you focus on you as a subject or the product as a subject, and make sure that you have enough space or you have something in the background that allows the camera to work with to give you that blur. The third thing that I mentioned is you want to make sure that you have the right source of lighting in your space to get the right type of exposure. And then you want to make sure that the light is placed at such an angle that doesn't create that harshness on your face, on the subject or the image, but amplifies the high points of your face. Okay. So your forehead, your nose, those are the sort of places that the light should fall on. Make sure that you are researching on the right sort of lighting that works with your space. Outside of that, just keep practicing, practicing, and practicing until you get it right. Number four is just make sure that there is at least 8 feet between you as the subject, your phone as the recording device, and the background. The more space behind you or the more background you have, the better. And finally, you want to make sure that you have little things behind you that contrast with the subject, just so that the camera can pick up on those things and create that blur. You will not be able to get the right sort of blur with a plain wall. The phone will actually pick up those little things in your background and emphasize the blur depending on the phone's capability. Also, make sure you go in your phone camera settings to see if you have that aperture setting or the f-stop setting that you can adjust to get the most blur you can get with your footage. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you are able to apply some of these tips to get that beautiful blur in your background, just to give your videos a much more professional feel and vibe, or just to get you to, make certain things in your environment private. If I had a picture of my family hanging on the wall, I mean, you see the picture, right? But you don't get to see everybody's face because it's blurry. So I guess that those are some of the benefits of having that blur or just taking advantage of it. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a massive thumbs up. Also, if it's your first time here, do not leave without subscribing to my channel. Please look out for my next video where we're going to be discussing video editing tips and the things that you could do to make your videos stand out more and to give your videos that more professional vibe and feel. As always, it's your girl Henrietta, and I'll see you in my next video.